Islamabad-Kabul equation. Many in Afghanistan and India see Pakistan's hand in the Taliban seizure of Kabul. A look at Pakistan's long relationship with the Taliban and how its proxy victory in Afghanistan raises new concerns in India. In many ways, the Taliban blazed through Afghanistan that saw the Afghan National Defense and Security Force crumble in province after province and took the militant group of to the gates of Kabul and eventual victory in days instead of the weeks or months that the CIA had predicted, heralds the return of AFPAK, a hyphenation that Pakistan may no longer rail against. Many in Afghanistan and India's diplomatic and intelligence establishment believe that Taliban victory could not have come without active assistance from Pakistan. Writing in these columns on Monday, India's foreign ambassador to Kabul, Gautam Mukhopadhyay, described it as a Pakistan invasion with an Afghan face. That assertion springs from the long relationship Pakistan has had with the Taliban. From birthing it in 1994, supporting its first takeover in Afghanistan in 1996, to the sheltering the fighters and leaders in the aftermath of the post 9/11 US invasion, even as it claimed to be supporting the US in the war on terror. Through these years, the Pakistan security establishment pushed for talks with the Taliban. But as the long incarnation of Taliban leader Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar in Pakistan prison showed, Pakistan did not want the Taliban to take the decision of talking to the Afghan government or the US without its assent. Baradar had made the mistake of reaching out to Hamid Karzai independently during the latter's presidency. When the Trump administration made it clear it was serious about talks with the Taliban to achieve the objective of a troops pullout from Afghanistan, the Pakistan Army and the ISI delivered the Taliban leadership to the talks table, from which the Afghan government was pointedly excluded. Baradar, who had been jailed at the start of the 2010, was released to lead the Taliban inside in the talks in 2018. The Pakistan security and political establishment is now savoring the Taliban victory. A delegation of leading lights of the erstwhile North Alliance, including two brothers of its leaders Ahmad Shah Massoud, landed in Pakistan on Sunday and called on Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Monday. Clearly, they believe Pakistan will play an important role in Afghanistan's new dispensation. Prime Minister Imran Khan said Monday that Afghanistan had broken the shackles of slavery. Many retired and serving generals are exultant that Pakistan will finally have friends in the driving seat in Kabul and have expressed admiration openly for the Taliban. How Pak helped take over. One reason for the Taliban's swift advance is the ease with which they overpowered the Afghan security forces, its leadership demoralized by the unseemly hassle of the US troops withdrawal. But Afghans deposed Vice President Amrullah Saleh and other members of the Ashraf Ghani government also alleged that Pakistan's Army Special Forces and the ISI were guiding the Taliban. While this is not possible to verify, Pakistan's undeniable contribution has been in providing the Taliban shelter on its territory, even as the world expected it to put pressure on the Taliban to arrive at a negotiated political power sharing deal with Ghani's government. All that Pakistan would say in response is that its influence on Taliban was overstated. The safe havens had existed from virtually the start of the US war on terror in 2001. The US was aware of this, but because its needs for Pakistan as a logistics back end for the war in Afghanistan was greater, it did not push the Pakistan military sufficiently to act against these safe havens. While the political leadership of the Taliban camped in the Balochistan capital of Quetta, the federally administered tribal areas in general and the south and north Waziristan became the revolving door of fighters of Afghanistan, Taliban and associated group of Haqqani network, along with Al-Qaeda and a gaggle of other jihadists who crossed in and out of Afghanistan at will under the benevolent gauge of the Pakistan Army. In the recent fighting that took Taliban all the way to Kabul, the same havens in Pakistan were used to launch their attacks in Afghanistan. The spin Boldak conquest of the Taliban saw celebratory motorcycle rallies by Taliban fighters and supporters in Quetta. Sheikh Rashid, minister in Imran Khan's cabinet, told Geo News last month that Afghan Taliban wounded in the fighting were being treated in hospitals in Pakistan, and that the bodies of those killed are sometimes brought to be buried in Pakistan, where their families live. A July Voice of America report quoting villages near Quetta said funeral prayers were regularly being held by Taliban fighters killed in Afghanistan after a video clip of the incident went viral. Peshawar police officials confirmed a funeral rally for a Taliban fighter at which pro-Taliban and pro-Islamist emirate slogans were raised. The Indian security establishment has held that fighters of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, a pet jihadist group of Pakistan military, fought alongside the Taliban against US NATO soldiers were from at least 2017 onwards. Taliban as proxy. Over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has viewed the Taliban as serving a twofold purpose. First, the Taliban regime in Kabul and its umbilical connection with Pakistan would ensure the Pakistan military a free pass over Afghanistan, territory that it had coveted for strategic depth in its enmity with India, while ensuring Pakistan agency over Afghan routes into Central Asia. Since 2001, Indian involvement in development activities in Afghanistan and its increased diplomatic presence were a finger in the eye of the Pakistani establishment, which aided encirclement by India. Post 2004, Afghan government, whether headed by Karzai or Ghani, were not shy of saying out loud that Pakistan was sheltering the same militants it claimed to be fighting. In response to Pakistan's denial of a land route to India for trade with Afghanistan, New Delhi began developing Chawar port in Iran, planned with a planned trade corridor via rail to the Iranian border with Afghanistan at Jarang, with the India-built Jarang-Delaram highway providing connections to the heart of Afghanistan. This route too may close now. Second, the Taliban were also an Islamist weapon against Pashtun identity and nationalism, which had taken a life of its own around the time of India's independence and the formation of Pakistan. Quelled at the time, it rose once again recent in Pakistan in the form of Pashtun Tafujub movement, triggering a heavy-handed response from the Pakistan military. Conversely, security officials in the Afghanistan government openly quoted the PTF as they saw it as a political counter to the Taliban. The Taliban described themselves as Pashtun nationalist force, the true and political representative of the majority ethnic group in Afghanistan, but their extremist Islamists believe that their continuing links with Al-Qaeda and other global regional jihadist groups make that claim unquestionable. Pak's current concerns. While there is a small satisfaction in Pakistan right now at the proxy victory in Afghanistan, many are also warning of blowback. All said and done, Pakistan views itself as a modern Islamist state, and although its general and political leaders may welcome the second coming of Taliban in Afghanistan, significant shielded from the impact, an immediate fallout would be an influx of refugees, which would be a drain on Pakistan's slender resources. What is of more concern is that Taliban's rise in Afghanistan may fan the fires of extremism in Pakistan, where an array of jihadist groups, anti-India, sectarian, pro-Al-Qaeda, anti-Pakistan, continue to exist despite several purported crackdowns against them. In July, Pakistan Army Chief Qamar Javed Bajwa and ISI Chief Lieutenant Gen. Faiz Ahmed held a briefing from parliamentarians where they claimed the anti-Pakistan Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and the Afghan Taliban were two faces of the same coin. Even though earlier the Pakistan security establishment used to allege that TTP was a creation of India, the Afghan Taliban victory could embolden the TTP, they said, warning of a possible rise in attacks inside Pakistan. Although the Afghan Taliban may be beholden to Pakistan for all the help rendered over the years, there is concern in the Pakistan army that some sections of the Taliban may be difficult to bring to heel. Mullah Baradar, jailed Pakistan for 8 years for being independent-minded, may represent one possible friction. The Taliban as a new US ploy against China to keep the region destabilized and prevent the Belt and Road Initiative from taking shape. A theory that is suddenly finding resonance is another possibility that concerns Pakistan. The Indian security establishment believes that the ISI Khorasan has been populated by the Pakistani security establishment with Lashkar-e-Toiba fighters as a hedge against Taliban, should it try to break free of Pakistan's control. For the record, Pakistan and Taliban alleged that ISI is creation of India. What next for India? As India considers its option, it's fairly certain that while India will lose influence in Afghanistan, the India-Pakistan relationship will acquire one more layer of difficulty due to the Taliban comeback. Memories of the IC-814 hijack and the role of Taliban in ensuring that the hijackers got their way as the plane was parked in Kandahar are still fresh in the minds of Indian negotiators, one of whom was National Security Advisor A.K. Doval. The Haqqani network, close ally to both the ISI and Taliban, is blamed by the US and India for the deadly attack on the Indian embassy in Kabul that claimed the lives of an Indian diplomat and an Indian army officer posted at the embassy along with 60 Afghan civilians. The Indian security establishment fears that to escape the Financial Action Task Force lens on Pakistan, India-focused jihadi tanjims such as LET and JEM may find new safe havens in Afghanistan from where they will continue to plan attacks against India. Thank you.